Hi, my name is Caleb G. Wilson. I believe that Jesus is the Jewish Messiah according to the Jewish standards. And today, we're going to be expounding more on the Synagogue of Satan because I just felt like this really needed to be talked about more deeply. If you're new to the channel, I would like to ask if you would please consider to hit that subscribe button. I make a lot of content educating people about the Jewishness of Jesus, and so every subscription really helps. Okay, so folks, the first thing I would like to start off with is I found out I was wrong about something. Now, to explain what I was wrong about last episode, let me show you the words that I said in the last episode. Behold, I will make those of the synagogue of Satan who say that they are Jews and are not, but lie. Behold, I will make them come and bow down before your feet, and they will learn that I have loved you. The synagogue of Satan is associated with a group of people who say they're Jews, but are not. So they're Gentiles. So I said that in Revelation 3:9, it says that it is Jews who are not living as Jews, who are not really Jews. Like I said, I had said, well, this must mean it's Gentiles. However, I did not consider that Jesus could possibly be speaking rabbinically. Jesus is using a metaphor here. And to explain this metaphor, it really requires us to look at the historical context of what was going on in that time. So during this time of John's revelation, there was a ruler named Domitian. During the time of Domitian, there was a time where the Jews were heavily taxed. And what was happening is that they didn't do such good, thorough investigation work, the Romans did. And they would heavily tax people who they thought were Jews, who were practicing elements of Judaism. What happened was there was a lot of Jews who snuck underneath the radar, who hid their Jewishness, so they didn't fall under this tax. There was also no consideration for Gentiles who were observing Jewish elements. Domitian later found out about this. So what Domitian did is he embraced Judaism as a legitimate religion. Now, of course, Judaism from the standpoint of not observing Jesus, not a Messianic Judaism, but the regular standard Judaism at that time. And so Domitian later outlawed Judaism of the way, Messianic Judaism. This created a divide between Jews and Gentiles. What happened is that this created a divide where Jews felt like in their necessity of self-interest to survive, basically outed Jewish believers of the way. They outed them and had them arrested. Jesus is speaking to the churches of Smyrna and Philadelphia. Jesus is criticizing Jews who outed Jews and saying, you are not acting like a Jew. This is very similar to when Paul outs Jews and says, being a Jew is being one inwardly. Now, we have to consider, what does that actually mean? What Christianity thinks it means is that, oh, it's literal, so therefore, I could be a literal spiritual Jew. The problem is Jew has always been a literal race, defined by the characteristic of being a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So that doesn't change. The point that Paul and Jesus are making is actually incredible. Simply being a Jew, a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is not worth anything if you don't act like the way that a Jew is supposed to act. You see, Jesus spent a lot of time, in fact, almost all of his ministry was to Jews. One of the things he said is, "You are the light of the world, the salt of the earth." Now, understand who he's talking to. He's talking to Jews. You are the light of the world, the salt of the earth. You're the ones that are supposed to show the nations and bring the nations back to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So yeah, I got it wrong. I got the context wrong. However, I think that what I still said still applies today because we have Christians or Gentiles who think that they can replace Israel. Christians think that they're the new Israel. They think that the church is now the people of God. The hyper-technical term is supersessionism. Paul says, check this out. Paul says, has God rejected Israel? Certainly not. So Paul affirms that the Jewish people are still God's people. So the idea that this verse refers to the Jews, all of the Jews, as the synagogue of Satan is simply wrong. It doesn't mean, it wasn't intended for Gentiles. That's correct. I was wrong about that. However, it talks about a specific group of Jews who are outing other Jews in that time for their own self-interest. They were not acting like a Jew inward, as Paul talks about. Being a Jew is being one inwardly. Now, do you have to be a Jew outwardly first? Yes, you have to be a Jew outwardly first. But that should come with the inward Jew, the spiritual Jew inside of a Jew. I knew that there was going to come a time that I would say something and I would be wrong about it. I had, when you do this type of work, you expect it. And so I'm kind of glad that I did say something wrong from the sense of, I think I can also talk about this. As a teacher, even if I get something slightly wrong, I think I need to be held accountable. I think I need to publicly, if I say something publicly and I get something wrong publicly, I need to be held accountable publicly. I need to come publicly and say I was wrong. I'm held to a high standard. Paul even says that teachers are held to a greater standard. And so this is a great opportunity for me to show you, hey, yeah, I got something wrong, but I'm willing to examine it. I'm willing to make the correction, and I'm willing to say publicly in front of all my viewers that I'm wrong, and I will take whatever flack that comes with it. Maybe I might lose viewers, I don't know. But accountability is, if I'm wrong, and I'm publicly wrong, I gotta publicly say I was wrong. And so I want to also invite you further that, and I really loved all the comments. I mean, there's a lot of very silly comments on my last video. Some of them I just didn't think they were even worth looking at. But I really loved watching most of the comments. There were some great discussions, some great points. And I wanted to invite you that if you would like to continue to hold me accountable, some of you may know that I've had Rabbi Darren Katz on my channel. He's my rabbi. He is the one that I go to all the time. And you can find him on Quora. And so if you would like to continue to hold me accountable and keep me to a high standard, I give you guys permission, if you would like to go to him, and say, "Hey, Caleb said this the other day. Is this what you believe? Is this what your ministry believes?" And if Darren comes around and says, "No, that's not what I believe," then we have a conversation. And then maybe I might be on another video correcting myself and acknowledging I was wrong. So I give you guys that full transparency. I am not above accountability. I'm not above a standard being set. I want to be held to a high standard. So if you'd like to do that, it's all yours. So anyways, that's what I got for you guys today. It's a little bit of a short one. Thank you so much for watching this content. If you'd please consider to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much.